Tonight, from the Vatican to New Haven, world-famous conductor Sir Gilbert Levine comes to Yale. He comes to conduct, but also to share the stage with someone very special.
Plus, one Yale alum has taken her skills from the pool to the pub. Meet Meg Gill from Forbes 30 Under 30 Food and Wine List.
Stay tuned for these stories and more, because it's your Yale, your week, and your news. Hello and welcome to YTV. I'm Raleigh Cavero, and today is February 21st, 2014. To begin, we'll go to Madison Alworth in the newsroom for this week's headlines.
Thanks, Raleigh. After this week, the university's professors are now one step closer to the creation of a faculty senate. President Peter Salovey announced an ad hoc committee to make recommendations on the structure, staffing, and rules of a faculty senate. The committee will have 11 members and spend its time researching faculty senates at other schools. Yale's faculty voted to approve the Senate on December 9th. In other faculty changes, Yale College Dean Mary Miller appointed Styles Dean Camille Lazare-Barr to be the new dean of the Freshman Scholars at Yale program. The program invites about 30 low-income and first-generation students to campus to take classes the summer before freshman year. Lazare-Barr takes the place of former Calhoun Dean Leslie Woodard, who led the first Freshman Scholars summer program. She passed away unexpectedly in October. This year's program kicks off July 7th. And of course, an important part of that freshman transition is becoming a Yale hockey fan. This week, the announcement came that the rivalry on ice will return to Madison Square Garden next year. Last month, in the first rivalry on ice, Yale beat Harvard 5-1 in front of over 15,000 fans. Most of them, not surprisingly, were decked out in Yale blue. Next year's game will take place on January 11th. Bring it on, Harvard. Last Friday, many Yaleys celebrated Valentine's Day over a romantic dinner. But one group of students spent it serving up some romance to the rest of campus. Yale Pop-Up, a group that opens a new restaurant every semester, just opened its third venture, Vourtsanis. It's located in the Davenport Dive, and Vourtsanis offers a new 5-course menu every 2 weeks. Its debut featured a relationship-themed menu that started off with a dish called Falling in Love and finished with a serving of Makeup Sex, otherwise known as the chocolate pot de creme. Vourtsanis will open again on February 28th. That's it for this week's headlines. They say home is where the heart is, and that couldn't be any more true for the YSO in these past 3 weeks. YSO brought in a guest conductor who, for one Trumbull senior, comes very close to home. We go to reporters Alero Egby and Michael Leopold for more.
Since 1965, Yale Symphony Orchestra has provided a community and a home for some of Yale's most talented musicians, both undergrad and beyond. This semester's concert will feature University President Peter Salovey, the Yale Glee Club, and guest conductor and Yale School of Music alumnus Sir Gilbert Levine. But one person on Yale's campus feels as if Sir Levine's musical influence has touched him his whole life, which I guess are the perks of being Sir Levine's son.
He also, I think, instilled in me the expectation of myself that if I was to do it, I was going to do it seriously.
But it was very important that he find his way in whatever way he would have a relationship with music.
With Levine a Yale alumnus, some might think that Gabriel followed in his father's footsteps by coming to Yale.
He wanted to come. I think if we had erected barriers on Route 95, he would have found a way to jump over them.
And using his father's bassoon.
I think the main pressure was to take care of the instrument.
But there's no doubt, Gabriel led the conductor here.
If one has a chance to conduct, and which is my profession and my love, and to do it with your son in the orchestra on the stage, it was just terrific.
This father-son duo will perform as part of this Saturday's program featuring Mahler's Symphony No. 2, Resurrection, and Richard Daniel Poor's Washington Speaks.
Mahler's Second Symphony is the piece that all the musicians want to perform.
And as for Washington Speaks,
it'll be really fun to sort of play a piece that's not very well known and just like get it out there and try new things.
I'm positive the performance is going to be just wonderful, electrifying in a way.
For this semester, above all, Yale is not only a community of scholars, but one of talent, dedication, and family. For YTV, this has been Alara Agba and Michael Leopold.
For more information, visit the YTV Features page for an exclusive interview with Sir Levine.
With internship season in full swing, future jobs are at the front of many Yaleys' minds. But one that's probably not being considered? Professional beer making. But one Yale alum went off the beaten career path and co-founded Golden Road Brewing. That was Meg Gill, a past Yale swimmer who made Forbes 30 Under 30 food and wine list for 2014. Georgiana Wagman introduces us.
At the age of 28, Gill might be the youngest woman in the world to head her own brewery. At less than 3 years old, her company, Golden Road Brewing, is one of the fastest growing craft breweries in the country.
So I stopped into Oscar Blues Brewery in a little one-stop sign town in Lyons, Colorado, and met Dale Kucharski, the owner. Dale said, sink or swim, and if you can sell X amount of beer, then you can stay on. But if you can't, there's no job for you. So I literally, I just had to do it.
But in 2011, Gill decided to try her own hand in the brewing business. She formed an alliance with current partner Tony Yano, and Golden Road began. With a commitment to quality taste and California culture, Gill saw the beer industry as a clear opening for her to pursue her passion.
I think one of the most wonderful things about her is she's devoted to what she does. She loves it. But she really enjoys it. I mean, she really gets a kick out of everything she does, and I think it's one of the things that makes her so successful.
I fell in love with the beer industry and the passion, and, I was able to open up all these markets and help build these communities through beer, which is an amazing thing.
At Yale, Meg was captain of the swim team her senior year, giving her an early lesson in leading a group of talented, diverse individuals.
You've got to, wear 3 or 4 different hats. You've got to be a mother hen, so to speak. You've got to be a disciplinarian. You've got to be a psychologist, and you've got to be a friend and a teammate. And she was all of those things.
My ability to manage people often 20 years older than me who have far more experience in doing what I'm doing. It's kind of that leadership that I learned on the Yale swim team, dealing with so many amazing personalities that are just brilliant beyond belief.
Golden Road expects to make over 30,000 barrels of beer this year, but still represents just 1/4% of the LA County beer market. Gill's vision for expansion focuses on building its presence on its home turf, Southern California.
We have to penetrate deep here. We need to get a lot more momentum in the local stores. We do have over 4,000 accounts, but we need to keep building that.
Meg may have had a long road in front of her, but those who know her best have seen her set and achieve lofty goals before.
I find Yale kids tend to set lofty goals, but sometimes fall short of the follow-through. She set them and followed through on them.
I hope to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing now, just on kind of a bigger scale, and to continue to lead Golden Road, for as long as it continues to grow.
Gill has already secured accounts with big-name retailers like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. In 2013, revenues exceeded $10 million. I drink to that.
Cheers, Meg. Golden Road brews 7 beers year-round and also offers a seasonal custom IPA series. Until last semester, undergraduate drama groups did casting independently, often resulting in staggered deadlines and long waits for directors to finalize casting. But last semester, the Yale Drama Coalition, an umbrella organization connecting undergrad theater groups, introduced a comprehensive timeline to help ameliorate this problem. Celine Tien and Nora Etienne bring us more on this story.
It's every director's worst nightmare, waiting and waiting only to find that their ideal actor took a role in another show. Undergraduate drama productions used to do casting completely independently, which often caused frustration. At times, an entire show would be held up waiting on a single actor to finalize casting. This past season, the Yale Drama Coalition Board began a comprehensive timeline for casting. Despite a few minor complaints about waiting for callbacks, the drama community largely approves of the new casting era.
Really nice that there's this yes, it's bad that you have to wait a long time after you audition, but it's nice there's this one time period where you will get all calls that day, and you can hear all the decisions at one time, take a little time, decide for yourself, and then go on. It very much cuts down the waiting period for everyone, so that everyone can sort of have a better idea as to, who is overlapping in certain shows, who are we all waiting for the calls. It really makes the whole community of theater be working together so that everyone can have the best thing for their show.
It was pretty easy. I mean, it was pretty straightforward.
To consolidate the casting process and avoid double casting, the new timeline regulates when directors and productions can make those casting phone calls. For example, on January 26th at 10 a.m., a new batch of production teams filed into LC. From their respective rooms, each called the actors they wanted, and if conflicts arose, went into the next room to talk. This all happens on one day to avoid the long waits with independent casting timelines.
So when I first got to Yale as a freshman, casting was pretty hectic, and working on shows and being a director and a producer and watching my friends as actors kind of struggle with how drawn out the casting process was, that was something that stuck with me. So on YDC board, when I was part of that board as vice president, we talked a lot about casting, and we talked about how we might improve it.
There is still some room for adjustment when it comes to unifying the entire drama community at Yale. Currently, the Yale Dramatic Association, or the DRAMAT, does not conduct casting under the YDC's comprehensive timeline. I
think this was a huge improvement. I think this system really improved on what existed before, especially since there wasn't a system before. I hope that in the future the DRAMAT will be in the same building as the non-DRAMAT shows that we're casting.
Probes advocates an even more unified timeline for theater, consolidating shows into one season of the year.
I think a really good step would be to get closer to the idea of a theater season and a consolidated version of a set list of shows.
Shows cast during the November and December casting sessions are now on the main stage. They include A Midsummer Night's Dream and The Paper Bag Princess, which are currently showing at the University Theater and Whitney Theater, respectively. This has been Nora Etienne and Celine Tien for YTV. Back to you.
Thanks, guys. The YDC does not plan to have any more casting days this semester.
So let's move from the on-stage to the underground. In today's Weekend Take 2 segment, Leah Motzkin brought our cameras into some places that outsiders rarely set eyes on. And some of these spots don't even see the light of day.
Cross campus, LC, Commons. Every day, we see the same places on Yale's campus. What about the parts we don't see, or aren't supposed to see? This weekend, I explored our campus to unlock some of Yale's secrets. Luckily, I had guides to help me. Aaron Gertler rushed the Yale Society for the Exploration of Campus Secrets, but did not pledge. So, he was willing to share some of their secrets with us.
So, most of these are the kinds of secrets you get when you're a 2-week-old freshman exploring old campus thinking you're really awesome.
We made it. Here we are on the balcony of room 203. Now we're headed to Science Hill Basement to try to see what we can get up to over there. This is somewhere we're probably not supposed to be. We're in the basement of, what is it?
Fine Biology Tower.
Finally, Branford Master Elizabeth Bradley was able to use her keys to the castle to show me another lesser-known location.
Inside the tower, there's a fabulous chapel on the first floor, and that's what we're going to go see. Come on in! There's one other really cool thing about this room, that balcony right there, and actually it's up where Dean Fink lives.
In the spirit of exploration, I encourage everyone to go to the places they don't normally see. Who knows what Yale really has to offer? I'm Leah Motzkin. This is Weekend Take 2 for YTV.
This weekend, if you're staying on more well-traveled paths, Leah has some recommendations for things to do from YDN weekend. They recommend, obviously, the Yale Symphony Orchestra with Sir Gilbert Levine, and also you might enjoy a showing of Dr. Strangelove at the Whitney Humanities Center.
And as always, we leave you with our Everybody Has a Story interview segment. This week, Cody Pomeran sat down with world-renowned economist Jeffrey Sachs to discuss foreign aid and his role in the fight to end global poverty.
Professor Sachs, thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, thanks.
So you're participating in a debate tonight, I understand, at the Yale Political Union about global poverty and the effectiveness of foreign aid. So I want to start there. Last year, World Bank President Jim Yong Kim announced the goal of ending extreme global poverty by 2030. I know you proposed 2025 in your book, The End of Poverty. Is that a feasible goal? Is his plan too bold at this point?
Well, I was thrilled, as you can imagine, that the World Bank officially took this on. And I think it shows that even sometimes pretty conservative governments say, you know, we have a shot at that. It's a stretch goal. One would have to work very hard, not only at the bank, but in an organized way globally to achieve it. Nothing about ending poverty is certain, but it's not impossible. And when you have an issue that could do so much good, if we really make the effort, I think we should try to make the effort.
There seems to be this misconception. There was a 2010 poll where Americans were asked, how much do you think America spends on foreign aid? And the average answer was 27%. And how much should we spend? 13%. The reality is less than 1%.
Well, thank you for putting it. The basic point that's been true for 20, 25 years, I talked about it in The End of Poverty, is that it's roughly a 30-fold exaggeration. And Americans would like to give a lot more than we're actually giving, but they say we should cut because they think we're giving so much more than is actually the case. And I blame the politicians in general for this. I find them pretty unimpressive, I have to say. Washington is almost off my visitor list. I go pretty rarely because I find it almost useless to go. But I find the politicians not brave and not honest with the American people. They don't like to talk about subjects like this, and they should. They should explain the truth. And the odd part is, I can tell you, I recommended the AIDS program that George W. Bush ended up adopting. I was probably the first person into the White House in early 2001 recommending a major U.S. AIDS program. At the time, I was told impossible. 2 years later, the government adopted it. It became President Bush's shining legacy in Africa, and it became one of his proudest achievements. I would have told him that right at the beginning. This would be a great thing. At low cost, you can save millions of lives. He came to learn that. I think President Obama should be doing a lot more on this than we've been doing. I find this a big mistake of Washington. And I don't think the American people would oppose it if they really understood how much is involved. And by the way, I'd like to tax a lot of rich people. Financial transactions and bankers' bonuses and hedge fund owners and the money that Google and Amazon and Apple ought to be paying, but instead have in the Cayman Islands or Bermuda. Come on, there are plenty of ways to get this money. And I would stop the war in Afghanistan many years ago. We would have saved hundreds of billions of dollars that could have saved a lot of lives instead of wasting the money we've been saving, that we've been wasting. So had we spent the money properly, the American people would have stood up and said, hooray, this is our values, this is what we want to do. The world would have been a better place.
Sure, but you talk about American attention span, the attention span of the media, but it's one thing to pledge foreign aid, but it seems to be a whole other thing to actually get the money there. People talk about corrupt governments, taking the money, but what about cases where the governments, even the United States, doesn't get the money there? Jonathan Katz's...
Why do you say even the United States? I sometimes say, sure, there's corruption everywhere, not just in Washington. We have one of the most corrupt governments I know right now. Of course, it's legal corruption in the United States. They go out and they spend all day asking rich people to give them money for their campaign, and we call that normal democracy.
Do big promises tend to, people see that we're going to pledge $8.4 billion to Haiti? And, I was saying John Katz's new book, The Big Truck That Went By, How the World Came to Save Haiti and Left Behind a Disaster, talks about how most of that money never got there. A lot of the money that did get there went to, the Department of Defense and repairing helicopters and, $4,000 for a fat fryer. So how, if you're an average citizen in the United States, how do you know if the money you donate to the Red Cross or your taxpayer money is going to the people that you are trying to help?
It's a great question, and I got to read that book. I haven't read that book. Haiti is a debacle. And most of the money pledged wasn't real money, it was just vapor anyway, so it was politicians making speeches. But it's pretty sobering, actually. Former President Bill Clinton was responsible for leading that effort. I could see that was not going well from the beginning. I kept urging that it should be more professional, more systematic, better designed, but it never got that way. And I think that that is a very serious problem. I'm not in favor of aid per se. I'm in favor of professionalized aid that gets to where it needs to go. And I'm afraid that in Haiti, they botched it. And you could see I could see that it was being botched. By the way, we didn't waste a lot of money because the money was mostly just speeches, not real money. But boy, did we waste time. And did we lose an opportunity to help Haiti after the earthquake? And I believe that this was very bad performance on the part of the U.S. It was disorganized. You could see it. It was very amateurish. A lot of people running around that didn't really know what they were doing. No, of course, this should be a lot more systematic. Sometimes it is. Often it's not. The aid, so-called, that we've given to Afghanistan, pathetic. The aid, so-called, in Iraq, pathetic. So I don't want to just leave poor people to die because the government botches these things. I want to professionalize the aid, get it done properly, get it to where it needs to go. The kind of aid that I've advocated and helped to design, like the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, TB, and Malaria, works. That can be replicated in many, many ways. But it's true. Leave it to the Department of Defense, forget it. Leave it to some photo ops of politicians, it's not going to work.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs, thanks so much for
joining us.
Thank you. As always, thank you for joining us. For YTV, I'm Cody Pomerantz. See you next time.
To see the full interview, visit YaleDailyNews.com/YTV under the features page.
And that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching YTV.
Until then, we wish you luck navigating those New Haven sidewalks. Oh my goodness, climbing that mountain in heels to cross York Street was awful.
Did you realize that no one this week Instagrammed any pictures of snow? I think we've officially gotten to the point where it is no longer cute. I'm done with the snow. I'm done with the snow.
We're done. And so are a lot of the people that you're about to see footage of in our kicker. But we'll see you next Friday at 3. It's your Yale, your week, and your news.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place.